Well, we're back. Welcome back.
Look at Potts' face.
Second time in a row we've gone with the intro music. I think it works quite nicely. Anyway, you can give us some feedback on that when you listen. Potts isn't a fan. Well, let me just introduce my panel for this evening's podcast. The first of two episodes. We're going to be just recapping the end of the season, and then going into awards and stuff next week, which is going to be sort of our big episode. But joining me, of course, is co-host and member, looks like the reject member of Busted from the early 2000s, with his white hair and ginger beard. Reese, how you doing, buddy?
Not bad, Robin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, mate. Talk us through the hair. Was that Dina?
Yeah, just to brighten up for the winter, man. That's all it is.
Nice. Looks fresh. It's really nice.
Yeah. Glad you approve.
Joining us from his New York City apartment is Richard Potter. How are you, Ricky?
Good, lads. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Pretty good. How's things?
Well, I think that sums up really. It just feels like March, April again, really, doesn't it? No, it's not as bad, but
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd imagine that Reese and the third guest on our show today would probably disagree with that, because I mean, to me, looking around the naked eye, I don't really see lockdown anywhere. I mean, I'm still going to work every day, and the shops all look like they're open, and there's traffic on the roads and people walking around. So I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. Third team analyst, and well, I don't know, maybe we'll save the second part of that intro for later. But Josh Cantrell joins us as well. How are you, Josh?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm doing all right, thank you. All good.
Thoughts on the lockdown? Does it exist?
Well, nothing's changed for me, so I'm still going to teach every day, and the streets seem pretty busy, but we're all right. Only thing that's happened is everything that my wife was doing with little one has been cancelled, so she's tearing her hair out, but other than that, we're all right. So
yeah, that's not ideal, is it? Yeah, well, I imagine there's probably quite a few people in the same boat at the moment, mate. But good news is we got a vaccine, gents.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ricky, thoughts on the vaccine? Do you have any inside info?
Zero, Robin. It's not really my bag, all that.
Well, it's good news, at least for 2021 cricket season. I mean, if they can get that sort of.
Ricky, can you get them directed to the Whipple and Somerset Cricket League first? Is that a thing you can do?
I mean, we can certainly campaign for it, can't we? Although
surely Potts has got some contacts somewhere. So.
Yeah, would we have a priority list at the cricket club if say we only get 7?
Priority list. Well, I mean, what are we looking at? Sort of vulnerable and.
No, but we need 2 opening bowlers really. Wickets win games, don't they? So Reece and Voss probably.
Look, anyone can take a wicket, Ricky. I mean, you got a hat trick once. It's runs that win you games, isn't it?
Well, mate, I'm getting one. I assure you of that.
But... well, we'll have a little look at next season. There's been some pretty boring news come out from Whipple today about next year and how essentially they're not going to tell us anything or do anything until close to the season. But in terms of cricket, obviously all indoor stuff has been postponed. That's got to be a bit of a hammer blow to the likes of John Dredge and James Unwin, among others. The indoor side. Andy Vitt. Oh, God, I really do feel for Villa because, I mean, he's just going to suck up.
No cream eggs this year?
I think.
No cream eggs.
I think they're still in denial at the moment, to be fair. Gone a bit Donald Trump, where he'll be back. We'll be back. All this and
it's not really a political podcast, this one. But has anyone else been enjoying watching Donald Trump's meltdown on TV and on Twitter? Ricky,
I was devastated on the first morning. I woke up and everyone was saying that he'd won, and then we turned CNN on and watched him come and announce that he'd won everything and that they should just stop counting now, with a crowd full of 200 people crammed into a room without masks on. So
we should do our AGMs like that.
Coffee would have been in even more of a state.
Just
After you,
have them,
Yeah, I'm not
have them locked in the
spin them out.
changing room for 8-9 days till the investigation's been
cried.
completed.
Right, moving swiftly on.
There would have been serious tears.
Anyway, supposed to be somewhat of a cricket podcast, I suppose, but it doesn't really seem that way in November. Should we have a little before we get into the cricket? Should we have a little quick trip around the Premier League? We've got 4 representatives here. Obviously, Reggie, as a Leeds fan, must have dreaming of top 4, top 6, top 8, top 10, and now top 17.
Yeah, relegation battle, mate. Shipping goals for fun.
I thought Bielsa was supposed to be some sort of tactical genius.
He is, mate. But when they sit off you like that,
Roy
no way
Hodgson
to
pulled
lose
his
that.
pants down on Saturday.
I don't know.
I've got a question about Bielsa, Reg, for you. That stance he does on the sideline, where he's sort of hunching down, like where he sort of bends his knees and sort of hovers above the ground like that. How does he do that for like 90 minutes? My question would be, how long do you think you would hold that pose that he does on the sideline for?
Oh, mate, he's got a blue bucket he sits on as well.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
the
blue
Bielsa
bucket?
bucket. Yeah. He got the Bielsa bucket.
I'm sorry,
Send you a
I've missed
picture.
that. Is that genuine? He has a bucket he sits on and he does that?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it.
Oh, well,
Bielsa bucket. You can buy him in the club
answered
shop.
that then. I could do that for a while, but
Ask me after I've
I
gone
don't think mine or Reggie's knees would hold out for more than about 2 minutes doing that.
I have to do it to
Ricky,
recover, Letty.
the good news is with Leeds' annihilation on Saturday, United have just crept above them in the Premier League table, so which is slightly less embarrassing. Newcastle sit proudly in 13th. Ricky, are you happy with the way things have gone so far?
I just want us to have a shot. That's all I asked for. And it's alarming the amount of times I'm disappointed with. That was my sort of core belief going in.
I definitely have days like that as a United fan. I can't understand why any football team would ever attack or enter Man United's half in a game of football unless it was on the break, because there is no threat of Man United scoring a goal. But the 3 of us can sit here and moan, but we could be Josh, in fairness, couldn't we?
You didn't prep me of this before coming on, otherwise I would have declined your invite. So.
Second season syndrome, mate.
Who was the point against, Josh?
Fulham, mate.
Solid.
That was the 6-pointer. Billy Sharp, the 45-year-old, scored a penalty. So
when the lockdown happened, when we first got locked down in March, weren't Sheffield United in the Champions League spot?
No, they were sick. They were 3 points off. Then we came back and we scored that ghost goal against Villa, which didn't get given, and we drew 0-0. And then I don't think we've won since.
Oh well, these things happen. Anyway, no one at Frome Cricket Club likes football, so let's move on from that, shall we? So cricket, we obviously haven't done a podcast since mid-August when we had that game against Bath, but a lot happened towards the end of the season. So we've got sort of second team season to wrap up, which I imagine will probably, given the fact that you're going to take us through it, Rick, will take a while. So if we come to you first, Josh, spending the sort of the latter part of the season with the third team, did you have any kind of standout moments or real kind of takeaway performances from the end of the season?
Nothing with the bat, to be fair, which is why we didn't win a game. We're really struggling, sort of quite a lot of times being 30, 40, 50 for none or one, and then about 100 all out. But some really great standout with the ball, especially with the youngsters. So Ben Cooper and Ollie Wagstaff bowled 4 overs every week for not many, picking up a couple of wickets here and there. Steve Baldwin, as usual, was Mr. Reliable, bowling his 7 or 8 overs and sort of trying to blood some youth into it with Ethan Smart taking the gloves behind the stumps and Nick sort of standing at first slip and trying to guide him towards that. So it was great to have 3 or 4 under 15, 16s in that side, which is hopefully as we move on to next year. That's the key with why we started the 13, but we also want to try and start sort of scoring some more competitive totals. And as those young lads get stronger, I think you'll all agree that when you were 13, 14 playing men's cricket and they all came and crowded the bat and stood at short cover and silly mid on, you just couldn't beat that infield. And I think that once they get a bit stronger and start trying to score runs as well, that will help, because at the moment our tail is relatively long. But it was just great to have the youngsters back. Aaron came back and played 2 or 3 games, which is excellent for the club. Bowled 8 brilliant overs away against Coppy and Hambles, which was great against Kilmington. And he's sort of messaged me already this winter, really keen to be involved next year. So all of those is great for sort of the future of that team and pushing it forward.
And towards the end of the season, you obviously kind of took a bit more of a leadership role from Nick. Moving forward, I suppose we can probably give the good people of Frome a world exclusive.
Yeah. It's a really competitive job to fight for, actually. I had to do a lot of campaigning to get me in.
For next season?
Yeah, so basically I just had a chat with Nick, who said it's a lot for him to do. He's happy to give me 1 more year playing, but I sort of spoke to Potts and said I'd like to commit for 1 year to the 3s and try and bring those youngsters forward and give them a competitive platform to play under and try and bring them through. And hopefully try and score some runs myself, which would make a change over the last decade. So.
For the last decade?
Maybe 5 years.
What about the 100 in 2016?
Okay, 5 years.
The picture of you celebrating that is still one of my favourite.
I think I scored my highest score since that day on at the end of August this year for the 13. So that sort of says where it's gone between then. And it wasn't 100.
That's good. It just gives you a little bit of confidence going into the 2021 season.
There we are.
So, in terms of next season, what would you say are kind of the goals or things you want to kind of set for yourself, the team, individual players, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think it's putting competitive totals on the board. But I think silly targets like batting 40 overs, which is something I think we did twice this year, has to be the starting point. We've had people like Nick Knight and Andy Lamb at the top of the order who've taken up time and overs and scored runs, and sort of no one else has taken any responsibility. So trying to blood those youngsters into the idea that if they're there, then someone at the other end can score runs and not just to give their wicket away and stuff. And just to try and sort of, to get promoted would be the dream, but certainly to come mid-table, not to be floundering at the bottom. So our bowling attack and our fielding has always been very competitive. I think that's quite a Frome thing, and we just need some runs that doesn't come from the top 2 or 3. And I think that, throughout the club, we're, have been crying out for that. And in recent years, it's started to come in, and we hope to bring that down to the 3rd team as well and get useful contributions from sort of all 11 rather than the top 2 or 3.
Awesome. Well, we'll be looking forward to finding out next week who the award winner is going to be for this season. Just before we go on to first team stuff, and we will come back to this at the end of the episode, but the whole kind of point behind these 2 episodes is to bring you a presentation evening that we would have had in person in sort of podcast form. So we do have all the awards that we would normally have. We're gonna do them next week and get some interviews and stuff in with some of the award winners. As a club, we're sort of asking for a small donation if you can, just to help us out again through this difficult time. Reggie and I have said over and over how amazing it was, the support we got during the first lockdown to kind of help the club keep ticking over, and it's just as important at the moment. Obviously, we lost a whole year of funds, or near enough a whole year of funds at a crucial time. So normally a presentation evening would sort of be around the £15 mark for a ticket. So what we've decided to do is get a load of raffle prizes together. The top prize being a signed Joss Buttler Test match playing shirt. And if you are able to donate £15 or more, we'll put your name into a raffle, and then you will have the chance to win that along with a few other things as well. So we'd really appreciate your support on that. Just before we do go on, I have to give a big shout out to Mark Prince at Studio Prince. Once again, who's kind of come through with the framing for us. I've used him a lot in the last few years for various different things. And the stuff he does is amazing. So if you need anything done at all, framing work or anything like that, get in touch with him. He's got a shop just opposite Cordero Lounge in the square up there in Frome. So,
Robin, will a page be made for those donations to be put onto?
Yeah. So Nick is setting up a page at the moment, and he will email me the link, and I'll tweet it out with the tweet for this podcast.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
So we'll come back to that again at the end. But obviously, thank you to anyone that is able to donate, and obviously we do really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have a bit of fun next week with the presentation episode. I think, have we just lost Ricky? Are you still there, Rick?
I'm still here, mate. Lovely.
Okay, so I guess we just have to wrap up a couple of crazy games the first team had to end their season. After the last podcast we did, Reggie, was after the Bath game, which was a pretty great day out. But the Norton and the Cajun games were probably just as crazy, weren't they?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say they were like entertaining for the batting sides, but definitely a couple of spicy wickets, that's for sure, wasn't it?
I mean, how much did it rain the week of that Norton game? I mean, it's amazing we even got a game on, to be honest.
I've never played on anything so wet.
If that had been a league game, I mean, are we ever starting that?
No, I think we all said that at the time, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, it was the wettest wicket I think I've ever played a game of cricket. And the umpire, yeah, it was definitely worse than Pelleton, mate. But you have to judge it by the fact there was two league umpires for the Pelleton game, and they both said that's playable. Now in the Midsummer Norton game, Bob Hampshire, who is widely regarded as the best umpire in the Whipple, had said, "Look, I wouldn't start, but it's your game. It's not for a league or anything." And we just agreed to start on time, and we got 105. And I do remember sitting there thinking, I really did think that 105 was a decent score.
Yeah, we said to each other before we went out.
And the only guy really in the game who probably approached it in the right way was Pangy, because he came out and just absolutely whacked it. I think they're still trying to find that ball that he hit off you, aren't they, Reggie?
No, that come back.
Did it?
Got a good throw.
It landed in the football club, didn't it?
No.
That's absolutely miles. The worst batting wicket ever, as you've just described it, and you got hit for the biggest six I've ever seen at Frome by Nick Pang. So
was it bigger than Reese's at Bear Flat?
Oh, Reese's at Bear Flat barely cleared the boundary. I mean, the boundary wasn't massive. They barely cleared the boundary.
Was it bigger than Josh's at Troll?
No, definitely not. But yeah, so obviously in that game, like defending 105, I mean, we were just kind of always there, weren't we? It was always a real tight scrap. But it was something. The end of that game was so great because I sort of had to beg Sparky to come on and bowl on what was it was absolutely ragging, like square slow turn. To beg him to come on to bowl, and he finally came on. I think he took the last 3 wickets. But what did we end up winning by, Reg? Was it 2 or 3, something like that?
3 runs, I think.
3 runs. But what was so great about that was because the twos they'd absolutely battered. I think it was Trowbridge, and the twos had come back. So you guys were all like up there, sort of watching, and it turned into quite a nice evening. And there haven't been too many times on a cricket field where you just get that like pure moment where just the thing you really want to happen happens. And you just get that. I think that's why we all enjoy playing sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
For moments like that.
I remember standing it long off. All their boys were stood behind, like sat behind on the bench. They were like, "Oh, you as nervous as what we are?" I was like, "Oh, no, I don't really give a shit, to be honest." Oh, Sparky took the wicket and everyone just literally bombarded him. I remember just doing a lap.
It was the first ball I saw. I got back from the away game, from the third team game, and I had no idea what was going on. The contacts of the game, walked down the ramp, and then just saw everyone going absolutely mental after this one wicket, assuming that was the winning wicket. I had no context at all.
I don't think I've ever celebrated like that ever on a cricket field. But I mean, Sparky bowled this absolute. He was a beauty. I mean, it was unplayable. The guy did well to nick it, and it just sort of looped into my hands at slip. And I just did I gave it the shearer, like right hand up around the infield, and like COVID and coronavirus just goes out the window, and you're just jumping all over each other. I mean, it was great. But we're forgetting.
He went off on Imran Tahir, didn't he?
He did. He was both times out. I mean, we have to give a little bit of credit to Norton, really, because I was always told that the Norton fixture was like this real high intensity sort of game. The only time I've played them was against was that pre-season game just after Mark died, and it was obviously a somber atmosphere. But they just seemed like a really nice bunch of lads. But do you want to talk us through their coach, Reggie?
The whiteboard.
Yeah. Tell us about the whiteboard.
I can't remember what was on the five bullet points. I can't remember what it said on there.
No, it was
no more than 2 down at drinks. Is the photo you sent me, I think.
No more than 3 down at drinks.
Yeah.
Was Scott Lewis a danger man?
Yeah.
Something.
He was in. No, so they had this whiteboard, which I guess ordinarily would be inside the changing room, right? No one sees it, so. Whatever, if that's what you want to do. I mean, I remember, having all sorts of hopes and dreams for my coaching role at Frome when I started, which sort of quickly sort of evaporated as the years went by. But bless him for still having the enthusiasm for the job. But anyway, he had this whiteboard, and it had everyone's stats on it, and then little bits and pieces were red. So it had like Reece Croker, 59 wickets in red, like for 2019, and then it was like Scott Lewis, they had his strike rate highlighted in red and all sorts of stuff. But then he had these three bullet points, and one of them was don't be more than 2 down at drinks, and that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself when you come out at number 4,
and they get first ball.
And I think what was the best one was be the most intense version of yourselves, which is just, I mean, I don't know what that means. Is that supposed to inspire your team? What do you think Jimmer would make of that? I'm white in for next season. Sounds like a good idea. So yeah, obviously won that one.
I liked his warm-up shirt. He had coach written on the back.
Yeah, he had a nice T-shirt with coach written on the back.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, he's a better coach than me, so I probably don't.
I think you should get one.
I don't know, mate. I don't know if I've earned the right to have coach on the back of my shirt.
If you bring a whiteboard, it's going to get graffitied with a lot of insults. So,
well, when we had the whiteboard in the changing room before, people wrote Lexit on it with permanent markers. Probably wouldn't be a great idea, really.
Yeah, but that was
so the Norton game, like off the back of the Bath game, was brilliant. It's just a great 2 weeks. And I think we all sort of went into the last game, like Keynsham away, September. You sort of think, let's just get this game out of the way and get back to the bar.
Hang on a minute. Just going back to the Norton game.
Yeah.
And their little bullet points, no more than 2 down at drinks. Didn't they get bowled out for like 16 the week after?
Yeah, they got bowled out. Was it 16 or it was like 14?
It was 32, I think.
32.
Okay. That's right.
I can't imagine what the bullet points were there.
They got bowled out for 32, and Pangy got like 25 or something, didn't he?
He's a good nick, mate.
Yeah, good player. So obviously, and the Keynsham game, like the following week, I would have just, you wouldn't have thought that would ever be a game that you'd remember for any particular reason. But it's probably that in a sort of 3 week span of bonkers games of cricket. I mean, we were 55 for 9 batting first after 28 overs. 55 for 9. I mean, how do you win a game of cricket from there? I mean, you might win 1 out of 100.
You certainly failed the bullet points that week, didn't you?
Well, they're not my bullet points, are they, Josh? I would never set such lofty goals for my team. Just try your best, lads, and let's see how we get on. Leave it up to the bowlers.
Don't turn up
55.
hungover.
Do you know what? Fila's been on this podcast a few times, and he's always good value. And I think a lot of the time we do kind of enjoy Vila and forget that actually he's a very clever, very good, experienced cricketer, and he played the situation so perfectly.
Yeah,
I mean, he sort of at the start of the partnership with him and Sparks, he would sort of farm the strike and take the fifth and sixth ball for a single and leave Sparks with none, one or two. And by the end, you started to trust Sparky more and more. I mean, the two of them put on 84 in 20 overs, and they still didn't manage to bowl us out. And when we went out, it just felt like one of those games. I stood next to Smithy at slip, and then they were about 10 for none. And I said to Smithy, I don't know about you, but it just seems like if we just stay out here and keep bowling, we're just going to win, because it just feels that way. And then, again, like Watsy just coming back, and Watsy came back when they were about 10 or so, didn't they, with 3 wickets left? Not many. I mean, have you ever seen Neil Dredge take a catch, Josh?
I'd never seen him drop one until about 2016. I don't think I've seen him catch one since. So.
Ricky, have you ever seen Neil take a catch?
I've heard someone call one for him. Didn't take that. I'm not sure I've seen. He's got 100% record with me.
There was this guy who was winning the game easily, and he just tried to line Watsy up, and he smashed it at Neil. Neil dropped it twice before he caught it, but like eventually it stuck in his hand. And then
he dropped one the ball. He dropped one a couple of balls before, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
pretty sure he dropped one. Yeah.
And Watsy cleaned it up, and what was hilarious about it was because it was their last game in all formats, and by the time the game ended, there was loads of people there, wasn't there? I mean, they had like 3 teams, and they were like planning like a big night, and obviously they completely bottled it. It was a bottle job from them, really, rather than we won it. But it was quite a funny end to a weird season. Yeah. So again, we're going to do the awards for the first team as well next week, so we won't give anything away. But I guess, out of all the games this year that were played, the second team fixtures, Ricky, were kind of the most compelling, if you like, because you had a longer league season, and as it played out, the games in September, were all unaffected by rain, weren't they? The weather was decent. Just tell us kind of where you were roughly going into September, and then kind of, what ended up happening from there.
End of September.
At the start of September.
Oh, start of September, right. I was thinking it was finished by then. No, so at the very start, I'll not go on, promise. We sort of, I promise. No, we sort of said at the start that we're all very lucky to get any sort of cricket, and it'd be very easy to sort of just go through it and get some games on, or we could really, really try get some meaningful sort of practice in to be more consistent with the bat, and rock up in May sort of full of confidence, really, that we can knock off any score and we can still bowl teams out like we know we can. And yeah, up till the beginning of September, we ticked every box, really. I think we got over 200 about 5 or 6 times. Season before, we managed it twice in 18 games, so that was brilliant. There was a few people who really came into their own, sort of a few things clicked. Joe, for instance, was probably his best season for God knows how long. He was sort of taking games to the middle, seeing them through at the end, and sort of finishing off the innings really well. We're still getting wickets, bowling teams out, and yeah, sort of beginning of September, really pleased with how we'd done. We'd improved, and we were in with a shout of. It was almost Winsley and Box sort of going into the last few games, really. Winsley was sort of Wiltshire Premier, and then us and Box were sort of the league below. But yeah, at that point, we just chuffed that it had been so competitive. There was a real risk. It could have just been some meaningless friendlies, but no, as it turned out, it became something that, yeah, we really want to win this, actually. And that was a real bonus in the end, I think.
And yeah, I mean, you mentioned about the kind of the batting and the difference there. I mean, when we had a first podcast talking about the 2019 season back in March, and I think the biggest frustration for you was, we just didn't score enough runs. As you said, 200 was kind of a target. You know, looking down the kind of list of stats, I mean, you've got Joe averaging close to 60, Pinch averaging nearly 30, JD mid-30s, Braish sort of, you know, mid-20s, Jimmer close to 40. I mean, that's kind of, you know, that's the backbone of a good score most weeks, isn't it? How important was JD as a sort of member of your team this year?
Well, I was going to give him a big sort of build up my next thing for the Trowbridge game, but yeah, he's someone you can just rely on about a long period of time. And something which really hurt us in 2019 was, you know, losing lots of clusters of wickets and sort of setting us back. And yeah, I thought this year we really managed to sort of nip those in the bud. Really, when one went down, people were able to knuckle in, and yeah, he was a big part of that. When he's there, just there's a sense of calmness that yeah, well, all right, JD's in. We'll sort of see off the next 10. And yeah, more often than not, when he was in, the partnership was there. And yeah, towards the end, he played some absolutely crucial knocks that, well, I'll come on to it in a second. But yeah, but one in particular was getting us out of trouble to a winning position. And yeah, he's sort of Mr. Reliable on that front.
Well, I guess it'd be a good chance to segue into the Trowbridge game. So yeah, I mean, yeah, tell us about that one.
So we're in the state where if we won the last two, we won the league by then. And yeah, I think I won the toss battered, and we were 10 for 4 in about 3 overs, sort of going nowhere. And then yeah, JD arguably it was easily worth 120, 130, but he just battered the rest of the way through for I think 77 he got. And he got some great support from Braish and a few others down the bottom end, and we got about 170. Rees thought it was a pretty good score on the tricky wicket. And then I threw the ball to Nav, and then absolute all hell broke loose, really. It was sort of, before we knew it, they were 30 for 6, and it was it's easily the best spell of bowling I've sort of seen since I've been at Frome. Absolutely unplayable. Against a good side as well. They'd sort of loaded a lot of their sort of first team who'd finished the week before. They got a few ringers in, and he just made absolute mincemeat of it. It was absolutely brilliant to watch.
He is one of the greats, isn't he? Now he's such a nice bloke, but he's got real kind of genuine skill as well, hasn't he? About his bowling, it's not an accident that he takes.
It's like, do you remember Brian Lara for the Mega Drive 95, 96 when?
Oh yeah.
You just press the buttons too slowly, and they'd play a perfect 4 defence, but would just knock you off stump over, sort of like that. It was he clean bowled 4 or 5 of them, and I was somehow would slip, and it just looked like they were playing a perfect 4 defence, and he just nips it through, nips it away. I'm just delighted I never have to face him. But
I think the hidden thing with Nav is that because he's such a nice bloke, you forget how competitive he is, because he really, really cares. And you know, if he gets a bad decision given against him, like an LBW that's plumb not given, he is spitting feathers. You know, he does it very quietly and not as sort of outlandish as everyone else. But he's really cares about the result, and he's sort of had a huge commitment to Frome over a lot of years.
Yeah, he was 1 run away from having the best figures for Frome according to Play Cricket, and
who's got the best?
There's some big names on that list as well. You're talking like Guy Barrow, Mark Watts, people like that.
Is Guy available for one as the leader? Is he in the clubhouse?
So Princey got 8 for 30 in 1992, and Nav got 8 for 31. I took a slip out, and he sort of edged one straight through for 4. And I could tell he knows all his stats. He knows how many runs he's going for and stuff. So I could tell he knew.
Hang on, wait. Just let's backpedal a second. You've got a guy who's taken 8 for 20, and you've taken a slip out.
You weren't there, Rob. You weren't there. It was all sort of like cutters in, sort of. But
I was there. It was madness.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel great, man. I mean, I went back in 1 ball later, and nothing else went there. But
follow the ball, mate. Follow the ball.
Yeah, that would have been top of the tree then. But in fairness to him, Princey bowled 15 overs for his 8 for 30. So you could say it's the most devastating 9-over spell in Frome history, if that's got a sort of ring to it.
Yeah, I think It's got a nice ring to it. Right. So anyway, Ricky, that all set things up. Winsley away. We had a bit of a COVID scare, didn't we, before this game, or was it after this? I can't remember. Didn't you? You've got Tom Barton in the side here. Was that because we had a couple of players out, or just you really wanted to win?
No, we were. So we were. We're waiting on the result of a COVID test.
That's right. Yeah.
If we didn't hear by 10:30, we'd go with Bart, and I think at 10:39 the result came back and it would have been fine, but we'd sort of said and gone by then. So he ended up in as a batter, and we it just felt like a really, as soon as it started, it just felt like a really high quality game of cricket, and we're sort of playing at a higher level than we had before. Really, it was excellent wicket, and the improvements that were shown throughout the year just all seem to have sort of come to the fore at once. Really, as well as I've seen us bat since I've been at the club. Jimmo was absolutely out of this world. Best I've seen him bat easily. Got 85, I think, at number 3. And it just looked like we'd figured out how to bat 45 overs, when to sort of consolidate, when to sort of kick on at the end, and against a really good side, we got a 250, which was a good wicket, not a probably just over par score, but so just that alone was, I was just at half time I was just so chuffed that we've gone 10 games and the batting has just come on leaps and bounds. So good position at half time. We said before we went out that Long Sutton obviously didn't go our way, sort of 1 wicket. I really wanted the second team bowlers to be able to do it and win it. So I didn't want us to get to a point where we'd say, "Oh, this is getting too hard. We can't do this. Throw the ball to Bart, win us this game." I know some people disagree with that, but I just felt like that was us admitting, no, we can't do this, and sort of asking someone else to bail us out. So we said that Bart wasn't going to bowl. It was going to be the second team players who were going to try and win us it. And we started off well. 2 lads for them then batted brilliantly to get them to look like it was going their way. And then the last 5 overs, it was very reminiscent of Long Sutton, really. Chaos, wickets galore. I think Nav bowled the penultimate over and there were 3 wickets in that. So there were sort of 9 down going into last over. And then this number 11 played and missed at 3, and then looked like he couldn't hold the bat, and then out of nowhere. You know that sound when it's the bat, and you just know that is not coming down for a long, long time. It was out of nowhere. He just absolutely launched one over long on, and sort of this scraped on by 1 wicket with a ball left. But tremendous game. But
it's kind of, I think, we at the start of the reduced season, a lot of us were thinking the same as you. How competitive is the cricket going to be? Is it going to be worth it, or is it just going to be a load of kind of friendlies? But what a great season for it to come down to the way it came down. Great game of cricket. I completely agree with your thinking in that situation, because Bart's is essentially playing because we've asked him to help us out. But you are playing as a second team, and I think if you are the sort of person who is going to want to win so badly that you're going to give the first team opening bowler the ball in a key situation, I don't know. I think that makes you a pretty sad bloke, actually, when you've got guys that have done so much to get you to that situation in the first place. So, I think definitely the right decision to go with your guys, and it didn't quite work out, I guess, in the end. But against a side that play in a league above you, I suppose, on the pyramid, I think that's what looked like a great game of cricket. So almost, very nearly, a league title. I guess I'll ask you the same question I asked Josh. In terms of 2021, what do you want to build on from this year? What's your expectation goal for next season?
Well, when you asked me this a year ago, I was sort of a little bit reluctant to sort of go for it. I think we've got to be disappointed if we don't get promotion. I think now we everything that we said we wanted to do, what good teams do to get promoted, we've shown we can do consistently this year. So I think we need to just be ambitious, set our standards high, And yeah, believe in ourselves. A lot of people have sort of really come on and sort of the stock's rised a bit. I think we've got a squad of 15, 16 which you need if you're going to be a second team challenging to go up. So yeah, I think we have to be ambitious, and I'm a lot more confident to achieve that now after this year. Definitely, it's been a good year.
Are you looking to bring any new players in, like Brad House, anyone like that?
Well,
I've always said, mate, I'm not prepared to bankrupt the club for sort of short-term gain. So
we've spoken about if we can secure the signatures of House and Wag for 2021. I think it gives us a better all-round chance.
If Wag comes, you'll need a new third-team captain. So
why? Because you want to play with him.
I hate him.
Will Ross be happy giving them a lift through?
We can give him £3 a run was the contract that's been agreed in principle. So I'm just waiting for the.
I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah. I mean, if he scores us 700 runs, that's got to be worth it, isn't it?
I mean, it might be £3 a run for him, but you're going to have to give Ross £10 a mile if he's taking him from the coast to Frome and back.
Further breaking news for the podcast: Ross Jenkins has bought a house in Wales, so he will be moving a little bit closer.
Wales Cricket Club's a great club to join. Lovely bunch of blokes.
What's the name of the guy? What's the name of the guy you hate? What's his name again? The captain guy. What's his name?
Stacey.
That's it. Yeah, you'll hate him, don't you? I don't know him, but I've not heard good things about.
Nice, honest umpire. Really good bloke.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. Anyway,
I just remember having Sparky up against by the throat up against the wall.
Oh, is that the guy?
Presentation evening.
Shrubbery Hotel, yeah.
In Ilminster on a rainy evening.
Yeah.
I didn't fancy.
Is he the one that plays the short ball off George Patterson really well?
Ricky, tell me about George Patterson, Rick, because I'm looking at the stats.
No, mate, no.
We've got 3
games,
3 innings. This is in the league. 3 games, 3 innings, 117 runs, average of 58. I mean, I would say that the chances of him listening to this are probably quite small, but if he is listening,
one of those games he turned up an hour late to as well.
I mean, there's an episode in itself just on George Patterson excuses why he can't play. But
I don't know how many grands he's got. It's unreal.
But
my grand's 80.
So I'll give one because I don't want to rattle on. But there was a game I didn't play, Keevil away. Sam Wheeler was captain, and it was a ground we'd never been to before. So we sort of gave their postcode out before they left, and so we turned up. Lost the toss, ended up batting first, and there's no sign of George Patterson. And so Sam starts calling him, still no answer. Game starts, he's still not there. Eventually he picks up the phone and he's all right, George, like the game started here, mate. Whereabouts are you? And he says, "Oh, sorry, Sam, I'm nearly there. I'm nearly at the ground. I'm just on the outskirts of Salisbury. Whereabouts is it?" So, and he sort of said, "Well, no, mate, it's near Trowbridge. What are you doing down there?" Sort of thing. It's like he come for a drink with Stone or something. But he ended up turning up and playing, and he batted quite well in the end. We didn't lose many wickets. But the week after I came, and we were doing the warm up, I ended up behind him in the queue, and I said, "All right, George, well batted last week. I've got to ask you, what happened with the sat nav and the postcode when you got lost?" He said, "Oh, mate, absolute nightmare. You know why when you try and put a postcode in the sat nav and you get every single digit wrong." And I was like, "No, mate, no, I don't." Like, what happened? Oh. Well, you just end up in Salisbury, and it's the weird sat navs, aren't there? So yeah, stick that on the list with the others, but. The man is a constant riddle.
He's the only person I've seen turn up. That day he turned up and we just lost a wicket as he got there, and we sort of went, "Do you want to go down the order?" He went, No, I'll be fine. Stuck his pads on, ran out to bat like with no preparation whatsoever, and would like hit his first ball for 4 through the covers, just looking $1 million. Like ever you think normally someone would go, "Yeah, I'll just drop down to 6." He went, No, I'm fine. I'll go out. Don't worry about it. And then batted brilliantly. So
Frustrating, isn't it? Because he's got so much ability. You'd love to see him kind of, be around a bit more often, but I guess that's just the way it is, isn't it? Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more of him going forward. But there was, of course, one more team that we need to get to. I really wanted to have Kathy on the podcast tonight, but she was unable to make it. But I did ask her, whether she had anything in particular she wanted us to kind of mention. The ladies did really well this year again to get, the side back up and running. They played 4 games, won half of them, which was good. Kathy, was very the way they performed against Brislington in the last game. Scored a lot of runs and went out on a high for the season. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about Kathy, which is probably a little bit easier with her not being here. But she's going to be stepping down as captain, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention her contribution to the club from a ladies' cricket point of view, because this time 2 years ago there wasn't any ladies' cricket. There were no fixtures, and anyone that comes down to the club on a Friday night will see how many ladies are there. Somerset have been in contact with the club recently about trying to develop the women's game, and Frome is kind of a big part of that at the moment because of the interest and the numbers that we've had. And I think she's done an absolutely brilliant job. I know you're on the committee with us, Rick, but the cricket committee, but it's been great, hasn't it, to see all the ladies down there on a Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it there. If you go down the Friday, it looks like something that's been well established for 10, 15, 20 years, and it's just how it runs. It's just I'm like you. I'm staggered at what's been achieved in such a short space of time, and the foundations are there for it only to get bigger and better. I think it's going to be. I think we made a big sort of go to try and get them playing on the Sunday before the Sunday games. I think for next year if we can.
Yeah.
And I know this sort of trophy game we're looking to get up with Norton at our place and theirs. The ladies are going to be a sort of hopefully a big part of that as well. So yeah, profile wise, they're skyrocketing and deservedly so. It's been fantastic what they've done last 2 years.
There's also three or four young girls in the youth setup. Obviously, being a teacher in the town, who are in the under sort of 11s, 13 setup, who really love it, and sort of them seeing the older ladies there playing means that they don't necessarily have to go and play men's cricket if they don't want to. I know that can be quite an intimidating sort of experience, but they've got another option that they can go to. So just seeing that there are other older routes down, whereas previously it was you either play under 15s with the boys or there's nothing else. Now they have something else to go to, and having spoken to some of the year 9s and 10s at college in the last couple of weeks, is something they're really keen to move on to, just to try that out as the next option as well. So
it seems like a really welcoming environment, doesn't it? And Joe and I, when we run the youth sort of alongside it on a Friday, we always encourage the young girls, to go and try it out. If you want to go over there and have a go with the ladies, then do that, because there's a clear pathway now, and a lot of that is down to the good work that Kathy has done. So I guess thank you to her, and obviously hopefully she'll play and be part of the club and drive it forward. We are going to get on to just chatting about John Fuller very briefly. In a minute we will be talking about John Fuller, but just briefly, Ricky, can you give us a bit of an update on the Midsummer Norton Frome Trophy that we've agreed to next year?
Yeah, so it's so there's a few details still being ironed out, but it's going to be the format's going to be a sort of a home and away 2020 on a Sunday. It's going to be ladies game beforehand, followed by first team 2020. The format is basically you've got to win both games to win the trophy. If we win one, they win one, it's shared. And yeah, Norton have embraced it. We're really keen to make it sort of a big sort of family type affair of a day at both clubs. And yeah, judging by the sort of rivalry and excitement that we saw at the game you had against them a month ago. I'm excited like everyone else is. It could be a really, really sort of big day for the club, and could be well supported.
I think it could be. It has all the potential to grow into something really great. I think because the two clubs close by. Obviously, there's a rivalry there, but I think if both clubs can get behind it and play their strongest possible team in both fixtures, in terms of revenue for the club, interest, getting people down to support that Sunday. I mean, possibilities are sort of endless in where you could go with it if it's a success in the couple of years. Maybe mirroring a second team fixture in there, possibly in a third team one, youth games, all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm really excited about that. So I guess we'll probably hear more close to the season on the rest of the midweek fixtures. But you've got quite a few in place already, haven't you, Ricky?
Yeah, there's a lot of fixture secretary badges out there. I didn't realise how quickly this sort of all got in touch. But yeah,
do you consider yourself one of them, or are you still kind of?
I'm definitely going to be after the next few months, I think. Yeah, we're Frome Cricket Club. We're hot property. Everyone wants a piece. So yeah, I'd say within a fortnight of the season ending, there were easily like 6-7 clubs who were saying, "Can we get a friendly in here and stuff?" So yeah, there's a lot in place, but
I expect you'll be turning out for all the Sunday and midweek fixtures, won't you, Reese?
Me?
Yeah.
Don't
You
fuck me up.
love a Sunday game. Oh, that's twice.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to put a disclaimer on it. That's twice.
He's getting distracted. We've gone on too long. He's losing his patience.
Getting a bit late, isn't it?
Right. Okay. So we will move on because I am conscious of time here. But yeah, we do have to kind of go into a slightly somber note because we got the news just over a week ago now that John Fuller sadly passed away, and a lot of people have been kind of reaching out and sort of extending their condolences to the family and sharing memories and things. I just want to kick off with a message from our chairman, who wanted me to kind of read out a message that he'd written, and then we'll go from there, guys. So Nick says, my first memories of John were probably as a 7 or 8 year old when he was the scary man who cut the grass at school with his Land Rover and mowers. Later, as a teenager, when he was a physio to various colleges and the Collegians football team that he played in. And when Nick says when he was a crazy goalkeeper, he used to treat him for various injuries, most notably taking me on a stretcher in the back of a college minibus to the old Victoria Hospital in Frome after being studied by the Wells Blue School number 9. Yeah, I'm not sure if today's safeguarding procedures would allow that necessarily, Josh. But Nick goes on to say the last 15 years with John, sharing sausage and chips at noon on Saturdays and listening to his tales of life. He was a great man who loved dishing out and taking banter. A top man who went through a lot in his 90 years. One thing for sure is that Frome and indeed Somerset Sport owe him a great debt of gratitude for his dedication and support throughout his life. Obviously the time that I spent with John, I couldn't agree more with Nick in terms of the sort of character that he was. I actually first met John almost 20 years ago now. Nick says when he was a physio around Frome, but we had a football tour to South Africa when I was at school, and the school had hired John to come and be the physio. And it must have been the trip of a lifetime, sort of all expenses paid, I'd imagine. Trip to Cape Town for 2 weeks, and he would always kind of. I don't know if I should tell this story on air, but I think I will anyway. It's a tribute, but he was staying in the room opposite us, and I was in my room with another guy, and we had got ourselves a packet of cigarettes, and we thought it'd be a good idea to turn on the extractor fan in the showers, and sort of because we thought, well, I'll just take the smoke up the extractor fan, and we were kind of doing that. We had a knock on the door, and we sort of like panicked, like, oh my god, this isn't good. and it was John, and John sort of knocked on the door, and he opened. He said, "What's going on in here? I can smell burning. I can smell burning." And I don't know. Me and the other guy that I was with, we sort of said, "Oh, we were just burning some matches in the ashtray. You know, that's all." And he sort of, I don't know if I doubt he believed us, because I mean he couldn't have done, because it would have been ridiculous. But he sort of gave us a little bit of a nod, and sort of like a wink, and said, "Oh, just make sure you put it out then." And then off he went. But I remember everyone on that trip being very, very fond of him. He's just such a character. And 20 years after that, 15 years after that, when I first came back to Frome and started playing, you know, he greeted me as if he'd seen me 5 minutes ago. And I think that's one of his great qualities. Josh, you must have kind of gone back a long way with John. What are your sort of memories of him?
Yeah, very similar to Nick. It was sort of collegians youth. Right through to Frome, and sort of 3 stand-up memories. Number 1 is it was 12 o'clock as a second team captain. I'd get there as the clubhouse was unlocked, and he'd be there with Mike Penny, making a cup of tea, fish and chips, sort of setting the day out. And the days where he weren't there, when it overlapped with collegians football days, it didn't quite feel right in the clubhouse, because sort of, you know, the start to the day wasn't there. The second thing is a sort of a college student walking home was seeing a man in very short shorts and no top, mowing the outfield, and sort of getting heckled by a few of sort of my peers who were like, "Who on earth is that bloke?" And I, you know, just, he's a legend. Shut up, move on, carry on. And the third thing is that he, every time he saw me, reminded me how much of a good bloke my dad is, and how much of a good player he is. As a cricketer, and never once complimented me on either of those things. So I think we can stand by the fact that he thought Steve Cantrell was a much better cricketer and a much better bloke than I am. So and I think that's a pretty fair enough assumption. So, but he never ever saw me without asking how my dad is, and that sort of will always stay with me, because he had a lot of time for him. So
yeah, definitely. Ricky.
My fondest memories of him were the 5 minutes chat we had in the car when I went to pick him up a few times and bring him up the ground and then give him a lift back. And it seemed to be every time I did it, the second team would be horrendous, so we get skittled, sort of thing. And I just remember on the way back, he'd say, "Thank you very much, you're such a wonderful young man for giving me a lift home." And then we'd pull out the ground, and the next 5 minutes would just be, "Christ, that was a load of rubbish, wasn't it? What the hell's a captain doing?" I don't even realise I was a captain. He was just, "What the hell's he bowling in for at that stage? Bloody useless and all this." And then we'd get to his flat, he'd get out and he'd go, "Anyway, thank you very much. Same time next week." We just shut the door and off he'd go. But no, the thing I liked about him is you could tell he had a lot of time for you if he could tell that you cared for the club as much as sort of he did, and if he could see you sort of putting the effort in to try and make the club a better place, he seemed to be good by him, is what I found of him. And yeah, he's going to be sorely missed, but there are plans for a fitting sort of memorial for him in the summer, which there will be details of in due course. But yeah, it's what he deserves, definitely.
Stuff. Reggie.
I think for me, the one thing you can guarantee with John was, once you come off the pitch, no matter whether you win or lose, he'll still tell you that you played well. I think.
Hey?
Well, maybe not you. But he always come up and shake your hand and grab you on the shoulder and say, "Well done, boy. Better luck next time," or "Well done, great win," and stuff like that. And
yeah.
Just a great bloke, wasn't he?
He would always shake you with both of his hands, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and grab you on the
shake
shoulder.
Shake with the right and then bring the left around, so like just to sort of firm it up. Yeah, so brilliant.
And around the neck.
That's right. If anyone wants to post anything, share any stories, anything like that, then just if you tweet them to the podcast account, I'll sort of retweet them out, and we'll see if we can mention them on the episode next week for the awards. But if we are conscious of time, we're getting on. That's just the hour mark we've ticked over. Reggie, have you got anything for us this week or not?
No.
No CTs.
I'm saving it for next week. You wait.
Have we got something good next week?
I've got some special prizes for next week.
Interesting. Okay. Special
You might need to
prize.
get your bleeper machine out, Letty, to bleep
Well,
out swears.
Should we just warn people now that next week?
Next week's going to be loose.
So during the sort of second half of the season, I had my garage converted into an office, and we've got like a sort of like a meeting room table in the middle of it. So Reese is going to come round next week, and he's going to sit. We'll have the doors open and all the windows. I'll wrap Reese up in a bin bag, and he can sit at one end of the table. So we're going to do it together, and I imagine we'll be having a couple of drinks as we go along, won't we, Reggie? So in true presentation evening fashion, it could get a little bit silly. So if you are a youngster listening to this, I can't imagine why you would be, but if you are a youngster to this, then yeah, just be advised that next week there may be a bit of bad language here and there. I did have a couple of questions come in this week. I'm not going to read who they're from.
If they're from James from Frome, I'm not answering.
They're not from James from Frome. Okay, so here's question one. The ECB say you can get one thing about a normal cricket season back for 2021 if you stick with one element of lockdown cricket forever. So the question is, what would you live with, and what would be the first thing you'd like to see return? Josh, you want to go? You want to take this one?
I'd live with having no teas because they go on for absolutely ever. We're there sat away at Kill for an hour and a half sipping tea, and I get home at midnight. But I bring back the ability to sit in the change rooms when it's hammering it down with rain rather than in my own car.
Or a gazebo.
Or the gazebo.
Reg, what do you reckon to that one?
Oh, I've got to agree with Josh, I think. The teas is a big one. Bring your own, eat it when you want, especially for us big fast bowlers. You digest it.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that's a good shout, actually. I mean, if we bat second, then I never eat tea anyway. I don't think I'd miss it in the slightest. But I think the thing for me, if I could bring one thing back, it would be like being allowed to be in the changing rooms, you know, in the showers. As silly as that sounds, it's like, you know, for me, half of the enjoyment of playing on a Saturday is the social side of things. And you know, when you play for a sports team, any sports team, the changing rooms, it's a very special place. You know, you make a lot of memories in there with the guys that you go out and play with every week. You know, for me, it's very difficult. I've done the same thing before. I've batted every game for 15 years. You know, the same routine, and for the same reasons that I wouldn't put a whiteboard outside my changing room, I wouldn't do the same routine that I always do outside our changing room when the other team can see me, because it would look, you know, stupid. But you know, I'll get in. I like having that little space, you know, where I sort of put my headphones in. I go through my little routine. I wait. I can't hear anything. I wait for Paul just to like nod. Paul will stand up. I'll look at him. He'll nod, and then that's it. It's time to go, and you're sort of ready. And I found it really difficult from a batting point of view this year, not having that. Like I was sat outside our changing room talking to their opening bowler, and then like 5 minutes later he's trying to get me out, and it's just, I don't know. I didn't like it, so I'd probably say that. What about you? What about you, Roberto Lower Calf?
I think, well, it's full house on the tees. From a captain, not having to sort out a tee as a captain is just, I can't remember what life was like beforehand, but it's just not having to convince Tim Leonard that it's important that he does one and goes to Asda and buys some stuff. Just not having to deal with that is a massive one for me. So yeah, I wasn't expecting sort of 4 people to say tees. Is that traditions of the game just binned in the space of sort of 3-4 months. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, but also said you have to cut up a load of baby tomatoes as well.
Well, yeah, horses for courses, mate. But yeah, I'm totally on the tees. And
maybe my sort of opinion on it's a little bit jarred by the bad experiences I've had in recent years with teas. So I think maybe from my perspective, I might not be the most reliable source.
That's got to be the best question we've had on this podcast, Leigh. You need to announce who that was from. That was an excellent question.
Well, I did actually announce who it was from just a moment ago, and it went over yours and his head.
I see.
Just to finish that, the thing I would have back in a heartbeat is showers, because our club stunk for about 3 weeks with 30 cricketers coming back with a Mark Sanger sort of hygiene regime. Was just we cannot go through that again. That they have to return. I don't like it because I feel like he feels like he's being empowered, like he had it right all along, and this showering was just pointless, and it's also right. And no, that needs to be nipped in the bud. That needs to come back.
Showers great as long as you're upstream from Reese. If you're going to go in the showers at the same time as Reese, that is, you need to make sure you're towards the top left rather than the bottom right. Otherwise, you're not really getting any cleaner, in my experience. One more question to get to. This one is specifically for you, Josh. So I'll read it out. It's Masters Week. Everyone's excited. Lots of good players in the mix. But I want to know, who does Josh think is the most likely to win the US Masters this year?
Dustin Johnson played well last week. Hits the ball a long way. Good form. Won't be affected by no crowd.
Do you have
DJ.
a 100 on it?
You're not on the Bryson DeChambeau?
I hate him, and I always have £1 each way on Westwood because he's a hero. So,
but Lee Westwood's not going to win, though, is he?
No, but it's like sentiment because my granddad liked him. So it's £1 each way on Westwood at the Masters.
So if I could, I know that you will almost certainly have studied the form, the odds, and all the rest of it. If I could push you for a kind of a pick of the week, maybe. So to finish in the top 20, or to miss the cut, or to win. What's your kind of, if for all those degenerate gamblers out there listening to this podcast, it is International Football Week, so no one's, there's no football. So we're going to need something.
Okay, I'll give you two. Mark Leishman is 175 to 1, and Sky Bet paid top 11 places, so that's worth a shout. And Tiger Woods will be in the shout on the back nine on Sunday.
So why is Mark Leishman a good shout for you?
He's just a better golf. He's a better golfer than the best bit of 200 to 1.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much.
When you'll win millions of pounds, you can pay me some commission.
Can I just say, Brad House has some interesting tweets about it as well, if you'd like to go with his picks.
Yeah, he does. I checked that earlier, actually.
Whose picks?
Brad House likes Justin Thomas and Patrick Reed.
Reedy.
Patrick Reed.
Reader.
Yeah. Brad House, BCFC. He follows England all around the world.
Shit
Not in a
country.
pandemic.
And there's number 3, just to finish it off. All right, we're an hour and 10 in. Okay, so just before we go, this episode, we're recording this on Tuesday the 10th of November, so I will try and get this one out, at some point towards the end of this week. I think the plan is to have the presentation night episode. I'm going to try and set it to air on Friday the 20th at about 8 o'clock. So I'll try and get it to kind of line up with where we might normally have a presentation night. So on the Friday night at about 8 o'clock. So you'll be able to listen to it from 8, and then obviously after that, anytime you want to. And I will tweet the link to the GoFundMe with this episode. So please, if you're listening to this, it'd be brilliant to get your support for our podcast. The work that Mark Prince has done framing up this lovely Test match shirt needs a good home, and we do need to hit sort of a certain number before we can let that one go. So hopefully we'll get plenty of support. I'm sure you will help us out. Until then, stay on the edge of your seats, waiting for all of our award winners to be announced. We're going to say goodbye, first of all, to Ricky Potter. Thanks for joining us today, Ricky.
Pleasure, mate. See you next week.
And Josh as well. Cheers, Josh. Thanks a lot, mate, for coming on, and we'll catch up with you soon, I'm sure.
Cheers, mate.
Bye,
Cheers,
Josh.
buddy. Reggie, that was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, okay, mate.
I
Got a
think
bit bored
it's nice to have a bit of a run out, isn't it, every once in a while, just to dust off the cobwebs.
That's it, mate. Keep everyone interested, you know. Let them know we're still here.
We've hooked him in, really, haven't we, with this? Because to be honest, if we didn't have like an in, like we're gonna announce the results of the awards, I don't think anyone would listen, would they?
No, I still don't think they'll listen anyway, man.
Maybe we should say to people that if we don't get any donations, we're just gonna keep all the awards for ourselves.
Well, I do want to win Player of the Year again.
Well, you're not going to win anything because you had a really bad season. You didn't score any runs or get any wickets. So
I still want to win it. So
well, then
no one listens.
If you wanna stop Reece Croker from winning the Player of the Year award for the 9th season in a row, then put your hand in your pocket. Good stuff. Should we end it there, Reggie?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next week then for the big awards dinner episode. And thanks for tuning in. See you next week.